everybody, Miss Molly here for today's edition of Life Hacks. So today we are going to be making comic book coasters. So if you picked up a kit from us, let's go over what's inside of it. We have our instruction sheet in our kit. It's going to tell you everything that should be in your bag and then some things that you need from home. And then on the back, how to do your project. We also have some comic book pages, various different ones. We have some cardstock. You're going to have some Mod Podge, and then of course your coaster. So once we've got all of that, moving it right out of the way, and let's get to it, my friends. All right, what you're going to need from home, you're going to need a paintbrush, some water, some scissors, and a pencil. That's pretty much it. So to start, whoops, not throwing anything, you're going to take your cardstock and your coaster, and you're going to just trace the coaster right around there, just so you have a little pattern for your cardstock. So when you do this, you can do it right around the edge of the coaster, and then you're just going to cut right around the inside of it. So I traced my square and then cut that out. You can also just do this straight onto your comic book page if you wanted to. The benefit of having a pattern like this is that you can test out the shapes that you're cutting out, or the comic book strips that you're cutting out, just to make sure that the placement is right and that they're going to fit and that type of thing, rather than cutting something out and realizing that it's not going to fit for what you're doing. So that's up to you though. All right, so I'm going to use this funky bit where my Justice League has gotten turned into coal. I think that's pretty fun. So I'm going to take my pattern and place it on to see where it'll best work out. Let's see. I think I'm going to go right there. So once you have that, you once again trace it out. And you don't have to do one piece just like this. You can do piecemeal or different images that you like from the comics, and that's totally fine too. You can do a corner here and some there. It's whatever you like. That's pretty much it. And then cut it out. I like this one because it's got Wonder Woman, and she's my favorite superhero. And then it also has Superman and Batman, and they look really dramatic up all against the green. All right, so our coasters have two sides, either one is totally fine. But what you're gonna do is pick whatever side that you like. You can measure your piece right over there. Perfect. Got my paintbrush and my water. Just gonna get some of the water out of there. All right, so now that I'm blocking everything, I'm gonna take my Mod Podge and move my comic book piece. You're gonna take your paintbrush, you're gonna dip it in the Mod Podge and put a thin layer right over the top of your coaster. So you just want there to be a layer of Mod Podge right on the bottom. It's going to help your coaster stick. So it doesn't have to be too thick, and it's clear, but you'll be able to see when there's Mod Podge on your coaster and when there's not, so that's helpful. And you just want a nice little even layer over the whole thing, just the top part that you're going to be sticking everything on. So I've got my first layer of Mod Podge there. You might be able to see it's a little bit shiny. All right, then you're gonna take your comic book piece, you're gonna put it right on top of the Mod Podge. So from here, it might be helpful to take your cardstock pattern and just smooth out our edges to help it all stick and make sure that there's no bubbles. All right. Oh, I already got a bubble. And what you can do is you can actually lift it up a little bit before it dries too much. And it might, if you're finding that the piece of cardstock's not really doing it for you, you can definitely just use your fingers. All good. And then you're gonna let that dry. So I have my superheroes stuck on my coaster. Perfect. Now you can kind of see I have some of the edges, they're hanging over the side, which is totally fine. When we Mod Podge the top, you can just fold those edges right over the side. Okay, perfect. So once this has dried, you're going to take your Mod Podge and just go over the top of the coaster and over the edges to keep it all nice and sealed together. You also might want to use something else to help smooth out the bubbles once again, if any pop up, which might happen when you go, but it's okay. Just work nice and slow. Anything with a straight edge helps that. And we're gonna do that covering the top part with Mod Podge 2 or 3 times total, but you have to let it dry really well in between, okay? So you don't want anything to be too thick because that will mess up the drying time. And you're gonna go right over the edge too. And if you don't like that there's extra bits on the edge, feel free to cut those off. It's up to you, okay? So we have that. Let's see. I'm actually gonna use my scissors to flatten all the bubbles. All right. All right, and you might notice that you can see the Mod Podge on your comic, and that's okay because it's gonna dry clear. So even if there is a white sheen on it, it's okay. It'll dry nice and clear. You can use your fingers to kind of help the edges fold over. And you'll be good to go. All right, I'm gonna let that dry, and then we'll come back to it, okay? All right, guys, so I have my coaster here, and the first layer of Mod Podge is dry, so I'm gonna do another one. Same thing as before, just doing a nice layer, making sure there's not any really thick pieces of the glue as you go over the top. It's okay if it changes the color a little bit because, as I said, it will dry clear. Make sure you're getting those edges. Just helping them fold down a little bit, right? Smoothing them out. My paintbrush is kind of coming apart. Okay. Again, just keeping it nice and smooth. There we go. All right, you're gonna let it dry. But there's my second layer. And so I have done my layers and they're all nice and dry. So here is your finished coaster. It's gonna be a little bit shiny, but not too shiny. And it's pretty much all set. So you can use this as much as you think you would like. It's pretty cool. And that's it. So I would love to see how your coasters turned out, so feel free to throw a picture of them on below the video, and I can't wait to see you guys next time for our next project. So have a great rest of your day, and that's pretty much it. I guess the only other thing to say is that if they get really dirty, just kind of spot clean, but make sure that you're not like submerging it into your sink full of soapy water, because it'll make the comic come off. So make sure you don't do that. All right, my friends, thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.